My name is Emma. I am 25 years old, and I live in a small, peaceful town surrounded by mountains. I work as a teacher at a local primary school where I teach young children. Teaching is something I've always loved. Helping children learn and grow makes me feel happy and fulfilled. However, there is one thing about my job that has always made me nervous: speaking in front of large groups of people. You see, I've been afraid of public speaking for as long as I can remember. This fear began when I was in school. I still remember the first time I had to present in front of the class. My teacher asked me to stand up and read my essay aloud. My hands shook, my voice trembled, and I could barely get through the words. The other students stared at me, and I felt so small and embarrassed. That experience stayed with me for years, and my fear of public speaking only grew stronger. Despite my fear, I enjoyed teaching because it was different. In my classroom, I felt safe. Speaking to my students was easy because they were like family to me. But the idea of standing on a stage and speaking to a big crowd, that terrified me. I avoided it whenever I could. But one day, my fear caught up with me. My principal asked me to give a speech at the school's annual meeting. This meeting was a big event. Parents, teachers, and even members of the community would be there. The thought of standing in front of so many people made my heart race. How could I possibly do it? I wanted to say no, but I couldn't. My principal trusted me, and I didn't want to let him down. So I said yes, even though I was terrified. The days leading up to the meeting were filled with anxiety. I couldn't stop thinking about the speech. What if I forgot my words? What if I made a mistake and everyone laughed at me? These thoughts played over and over in my mind, making it hard to focus on anything else. I even thought about pretending to be sick on the day of the meeting, just so I wouldn't have to do it. But deep down, I knew I had to face this fear. Running away wouldn't solve anything. I remembered a lesson I often taught my students. It's okay to feel scared, but don't let fear stop you from trying. I realized that I needed to follow my own advice. I wanted to show my students that even teachers face challenges, and it's possible to overcome them. To prepare, I wrote my speech and practiced it every day. I stood in front of the mirror and spoke to my reflection. I practiced in my empty classroom, imagining the chairs filled with people. I even asked a close friend to listen to me and give feedback. Each time I practiced, I felt a little more confident, but still, the thought of the actual event made me nervous. Finally, the day of the meeting arrived. The school's auditorium was filled with people: parents, teachers, students, and even a few local reporters. The room buzzed with excitement, but all I could feel was fear. My hands were cold and sweaty, my stomach felt tight, and my heart pounded so loudly that I thought everyone could hear it. I stood backstage, peeking through the curtain at the crowd. There were so many faces, and they all seemed to be looking right at me. For a moment, I thought about running away. I wanted to find a quiet place to hide. But then, I remembered why I was doing this. I thought about my students. They often looked to me for guidance and inspiration. If I gave up now, what kind of example would I set for them? I took a deep breath and told myself, "You can do this." When my name was called, I walked onto the stage. The bright lights made it hard to see the audience, which was a small relief. I held my speech in my hands, and I could see them shaking. I felt a lump in my throat, but I forced myself to smile. "Good evening, everyone," I began. My voice was shaky, but I kept going. "Thank you for being here tonight." As I continued, something surprising happened. I noticed that people in the audience were smiling at me. Some nodded encouragingly. Their kindness gave me strength. Slowly, I started to feel more comfortable. I focused on my words and the message I wanted to share. I reminded myself that this wasn't about me. It was about the students, the school, and the community. Halfway through the speech, I realized that I wasn't as nervous anymore. I even started to enjoy myself. I looked up from my paper and spoke directly to the audience. I saw parents smiling proudly, teachers listening intently, and students watching with wide eyes. By the time I finished, the room erupted in applause. I couldn't believe it. I had done it. When I stepped off the stage, I felt a mix of emotions. I was relieved that it was over, but more than that, I was proud. I had faced my fear and done something I never thought I could do. It wasn't perfect, but it didn't have to be. The important thing was that I tried, and that made all the difference. That day changed me. It taught me a valuable lesson. Fear is a natural part of life, but it doesn't have to control us. When we face our fears, we grow stronger and more confident. I learned that the things we are most afraid of often aren't as scary as we imagine them to be. Since that day, I've given more speeches. Each time, it gets a little easier. I still feel nervous, but now I know how to manage those feelings. I focus on my message, not my fear. I remind myself of the support and kindness of the people around me. Most importantly, I remember that it's okay to make mistakes. We don't have to be perfect. We just have to try. I share this story with my students now. I want them to know that everyone has fears, but courage is about facing them, not avoiding them. I hope that my experience inspires them to be brave and take on their own challenges. Whether it's speaking in front of the class, trying a new sport, or making a new friend, I want them to know that they can do it. So, if you're reading this and you have a fear, remember, you are stronger than you think. Take small steps, believe in yourself, and don't give up. You might be surprised by what you can achieve. Fear is just a feeling, and it doesn't have to hold you back. You can overcome it, and when you do, you'll feel proud, just like I did.